for the job, not why the person
Is the time clicking? Yeah.
beside them
Is it?
shouldn't have the
Yep.
job.
Yep. You're good.
They're going to tell
You're
us
good.
today about themselves and about why they would be very good at serving all of Morrison County. We drew names to begin, and that is our seating order for today. We only have one microphone, so we're going to be passing it back and forth. But I will introduce the questions, and then the candidates, the first one will be introducing themselves to you. So if we're ready to go here, gentlemen, the first question, please introduce yourself and tell us why you are running for Morrison County Sheriff.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank you for inviting us to come and speak to the people of Morrison County. Just to get started, my name is Dan Scoop Russell. I've been a lifelong resident of Morrison County. I've been 15 years in law enforcement, and the last 12 I've been with the Sheriff's Department. I'm married to Kim Harold, and we have 3 beautiful children, Preston, Amaya, and Elena. I'm very involved out in the community, out in peers. I've been 21 years first responder, 12 years as a fireman, member of the Piers Lions, member of the Knights of Columbus, director of the Hardy National Snow Dusters, and on the safety board at the schools out in Piers. The reason I'm running, I guess, for sheriff, of course, was Sheriff Wetzel decided to retire, so that was left an open seat. So if you're ever going to run, now would be probably the best time to give it a shot. Another reason I feel I've been in the county for 12 years at the Sheriff's Department. I've done a lot of areas there at the Sheriff's Department that I feel would help me be a good sheriff. And another reason I feel I'm a very good listener and I can work with the people there. So I feel I would be a very good leader for the Sheriff's Department today. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom Justin, born and raised in Royalton, Minnesota. Attended Royalton High School, went into the United States Army, came back from the Army, married my best friend Heidi, and raised, or are raised, 4 children. I've got 3 that are all away from home, college bound, and/or completed college, and 1 8-year-old still at home. My experience and why I'm running.
Tom, put that mic up.
Is it better now? All right, thank you. My experience and why I'm running. At 49 years old and at 28 years of total law enforcement experience, it was a prime opportunity when Mick announced he wouldn't run, come back to the county and be able to implement some new programs and new strategies and increase the outreach and visibility of the Sheriff's Office. I have 28 years of law enforcement experience, 26 with the City of St. Cloud, and 20 of that in a management position in the organization. So I supervise about 100 officers, 50 civilian staff. I deal with the personnel issues of the department and oversee and plan for about a $10 million budget. As you may or may not realize, the County Sheriff's Office has a budget of about $7 million and about 67 total employees. In my law enforcement career, there isn't much from start to finish in my 28 years that I haven't either worked, supervised, or managed, including everything from gangs to narcotics to the SWAT team. From its inception, I assisted and was one of the first people in St. Cloud to help build the St. Cloud Police Department SWAT team. The biggest reason or passion I have to come back now is the outreach with the youth and the young parents. I believe that we can talk about drugs and drug education all day long, we can talk about prevention all day long, and we can talk about enforcement all day long. If you look at drugs from a 3-pronged perspective, I believe prevention and education is the key to success. You can't enforce your way out of the drug market today. It's just impossible. It's too hard. So prevention and education are the strategies, and the outreach with the public are the strategies to be fiscally sound to keep people from using drugs. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Sean Morrison. A couple reasons why I'm running for sheriff. First reason is that I currently work for the Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office 15 years. The last 8 of the 15 years I've been the patrol sergeant, where I supervise all the licensed deputies within Morrison County. So there are some leadership roles that I currently have in place. I'm the senior sergeant at the Sheriff's Office, therefore making me third in command. Michael Wetzel is our sheriff, our chief deputy and Tom Wolf are both retiring, and then of course I'm the ex-senior sergeant. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Two Rivers Township. I attended high school in Uppsala. I have 12 years military experience, 6 years with the United States Marine Corps Reserve, 6 years with the Army National Guard. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice through Bemidji State University. I have my wife Heidi. Heidi, why don't you stay on up? I'm going to put you on the spot. She teaches here in Little Falls, and we have 3 girls, Abigail, Ellie, and Isabel. All 3 of our girls attend Little Falls High School. Or I'm sorry, Little Falls Lincoln Elementary. I feel that I have good relations within the Sheriff's Office. I feel that I have good relations with everybody in the criminal justice system. And I also feel that I have good, positive relations with our community members that I currently serve. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Charles Rock. I am also one of the 4 candidates here running for Morrison County Sheriff. I want to start off by saying thanks to the Chamber for giving us the opportunity to speak to everybody, and also the people out here to support us here at the Morrison County Fair, and also thank the Fair for having us out here, as well as the other 3 candidates here. I want to start by introducing myself. Again, I'm Charles Strock. I am married to my wife Shayla. We have 4 kids, and I have a wonderful granddaughter. I grew up in the city of Randall for 18 years. Attended Little Falls Community School, where I went on to St. Cloud State University and got my 4-year bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I then went on to Alec Technical College and got my law enforcement licensing. And during that time, law enforcement jobs were hard to come by, and I went into construction work, worked land were heavy moving, laying pipe, putting pipe in the ground, and also Eagle construction here in Little Falls, doing a lot of cement work. And before I got hired with the Little Falls Police Department. And I also got a job as a volunteer firefighter here in Little Falls, and I have been there for 18 years to the present also. So that's a little bit about me. There's some questions down that I'll answer about some stuff we've done in the community. I have passion for sports, baseball, and I've been lucky enough to be able to coach most of my kids in the baseball and basketball programs in Little Falls, and also been the president, and I am the current president for the Youth Baseball Association here in Little Falls. So the reason I want to run for Morrison County Sheriff is I really believe we're in some times in America right now where you have to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And I see as a Morrison County Sheriff, that opportunity is going to be coming. And I feel that I'm the most qualified to be with 20 years in law enforcement. I've joined the Constitutional Police and Sheriff's Association to swear and uphold the Constitution of the United States. And as a lifelong dream growing up as a law enforcement officer, I feel that as a Morrison County Sheriff, I can help this county progress in the future.
Thank you, gentlemen. The name plaques that are in front of each of the candidates is their name as it will appear on the ballot. So we're giving you a visual to tie that into. As we continue our questions, the next one will be answered first by Tom. The role of the sheriff requires diverse responsibilities, ranging from operating the 911 system, administrating the civil process, running the county jail, supervising staff, which may include people that you are friends with, budgeting, plus serving the county that covers a large area. What specific experience or expertise do you have that has prepared you for these roles?
Thanks for the question. The role, I agree, it does require diverse responsibilities, and it requires a lot of management expertise. Ultimately, the best way for me to start out with that would be to explain that I have over 20 years of management experience with the city of St. Cloud. That's in a municipal city of about 65,000 people. with 100 officers and 50 civilian staff. I've managed everything up to about $10 million worth of budget, including writing it, implementing it, and reviewing it. I've dealt with personnel issues from hiring to release of employment, the whole broad spectrum of personnel. The advantage, I guess, I would have coming from the outside into the sheriff's office is there are several people in the sheriff's office that I know, but I haven't directly worked specifically either side by side with them or supervised them. So it's a fresh outside perspective approach when you deal with personnel issues and training that way. As far as next gen 911 center, probably to my advantage in the position is that St. Cloud sits in 3 counties, Benton, Sherburne, and Stearns. And in order to operate within the city, you have to operate within 3 different counties' directions, 3 different county policies, 3 different county jails, 3 different county social service agencies, and of course, in St. Cloud, 2 different judicial districts. So really what that means for the public is Benton and Stearns County have a judicial district that's tied with Morrison. Sherburne County is a completely different judicial district, which means policies, protocols, standards, and training all have to be amended to be able to deal with the 3 different counties and how they do business. The other part that I have an advantage in as a candidate is part of what I do for a living is training, and in central Minnesota specifically, assisted the state with the build out of the 800 megahertz radio system, which means I developed several relationships and friendships with sheriffs and chief deputies outside of Morrison County. If there was ever a question about an issue within county government, specifically the sheriff's office, I know 50 of the 87 sheriffs personally, and I have 10 of the surrounding former or current sheriff's endorsements for the position. My supervision management, when we talk about running a county jail, the key to the county jail is to have a good jail administrator. And the jail administrator is a subordinate person to the sheriff. What I mean by that, the sheriff's ultimately responsible and accountable for the jail, but the jail administrator is the person that oversees the day-to-day operations of the jail. So effectively having a good jail administrator makes the jail run smoothly. Serving a 1,125 square mile county, the ultimate issue with service to the public is no different whether you're in the city, municipal police department, or in the sheriff's office. The public has expectations on response times, call for service, quality of investigations, and general customer service of whoever the law enforcement agency is. What I'm well known for in my leadership role in the state of Minnesota is collaborative efforts and proactive leadership. I clearly am the candidate that can bring other sources and resources to bear within Morrison County. What I mean by that is, when I was in Richardson Township, I'm aware of a lady that called the police department on an emergency call, and it was roughly a 2-hour response to the call. Clearly, Mille Lacs County, who was a mile away, who had a deputy on the north end of the county, could have responded faster. When you dial 911, you don't care if they show up in a brown uniform or a blue uniform. You want somebody there, the fastest and safest and most effective service that you can get. Sometimes that entails working outside the box and thinking outside the box. I'm well known in my law enforcement career for being able to put collaborative efforts and management strategies together to make it better, faster, more efficient, and more effective for public safety.
First of all, the role of the sheriff requires, and ranging from operating the 911 system. That's where I started. I started off as a 911 dispatcher when I started my career. I worked approximately 3 years with the 911 system, so I'm obviously been involved with the system at the sheriff's office. Administering the civil process papers, I'm currently in charge of that as well. That's my job, to make sure that the civil process papers are getting served, to make sure that things aren't backing up on us, and making sure that we get out and about and do our service. Running the county jail. Like Mr. Justin mentioned, we have a Lieutenant Mike Manier that runs our jail. He's the administrator now. He put good people in charge, and good things happen. But I also have experience working in the Morrison County Jail. I worked as a correctional officer part-time for a number of years before advancing to a deputy. Supervising staff and budgeting. I currently supervise all the licensed deputies in Morrison County now. So I guess with my experience with all the personnel that I supervise, I believe that that's a positive thing for me because I already know their talents and I already know what needs to get done. The other question is the budgeting. The budgeting, I currently run line item budgets with the Morrison County Sheriff's Office. I oversee our training budget, and I also oversee our CERT team budget, which stands for Critical Incident Response Team, also known as our SWAT team. And as far as serving the county in a large area, obviously that's what we do right now. Mr. Justin made a comment that he knocked on a door, and it took a while for one of our deputies to get there. That stuff does happen, but at the same token, we usually have small towns, neighboring agencies that are working, and we'll call on them if they're closer if a deputy can't make it in a quick response time. So I don't know what information you got, but 9 times out of 10, if there's a neighboring agency or a small town within the county, we're obviously going to be calling them to assist us if we know it's going to be a long time before a deputy can get to a call, especially when it's an emergency. Thank you.
All right, in answer to number 2, I just want to say that when Sheriff Webster said to step down, I myself, I could say that I was caught by a little surprise, as probably the other candidates. And in the short time that the campaign has started, I can come up here and promise you every one of these questions, administering the civil process, running the county jail, supervising staff, budgeting. I think we would all be remiss if we said, yeah, we're going to do each and every one of these things, because since we signed on to become the sheriff candidate, it's not a long enough time to review and go through the whole process of the jail and the budget and the civil process and everything. And that being said, I've learned that there are numerous responsibilities of the sheriff with all of them that are on this question. And you got to be able to tell us who the person is running for that candidate and what they've done in society and in the county and in the community that they've been in. I've been a business leader for a businessman. I've owned my own business. I've been on the task force for 9 years as a investigator, but also fought drugs and in an interdiction capacity on the highway since 2000. I'm the Randall chief and was there since 2010. And of course, we run the home budget. Everyone that says running the home budget is easy. It's a budget crisis that we have here that we've had and hopefully are getting out of. It's not easy to run a budget at home, so you got that. But as far as what you're doing, as far as supervising staff, I talk to many people in the military, and the biggest thing is you got to promote leaders. I think we have 68 sworn personnel, I believe, in the county, close to that number in a year or so yesterday. Is to promote leaders to positions that you believe will carry out your ideas is how you want the county run. And I really believe that's an important issue. You can't always be in touch with every single sworn personnel that you're going to have at every point of the day. And that's where your staff that you have promoted in the position will carry your ideas forward. I also oversee at any one time 10 to 20 confidential informants. If anyone has ever dealt with informants, and probably not many you have, if that ain't a task at hand, it's one heck of a job. But I wouldn't think of nothing different. And the last thing I'd like to say with some experience is with being able to be on the Minnesota State Association Narcotics Enforcement Association Board. I've been active in DC, Washington DC, fighting for farming for area task forces throughout the state of Minnesota. I've done the same call fighting drug legalization efforts, and I'll always fight back that. And so, if you take the person at the whole and know that they will find out each responsibility and work at their top to find out what everything that the sheriff has to do. I think that's the better answer to the question.
Getting back to this, it's kind of tough being the fourth one answering this one, but a few things that I've done in my career I feel that's helped me. Of course, would be the 12 years working at the Sheriff's Department. From day to day, you see all the areas that they're talking about here. From the 911 center, you do go into dispatch, talk to the dispatchers, and you hear their concerns. And from that, I have learned a lot too, what they do, how everything works, and that's just one thing I feel that would assist me in running the Sheriff's Department. As far as the civil process, currently we do have a great, Christina is the one who runs the civil process, and currently the chief deputy is the one who's kind of in charge of that. So I feel you would just have to leave it like that. Like they said, there's no way you can run all these areas as one person. The biggest thing, like I feel, is you have to put the right people in the right positions. There's a lot of very good staff working there right now, and I really see no reason to switch anything around. And I know what they can do and how to do it, so I feel I won't upset the cart on that deal. Some things that help me, I feel, with budgeting currently, I grew up on a farm. I'm currently a small hobby farmer, you could call it. And the budget, as everybody knows out there in the agricultural world, if you don't run your budget right, you're not going to make it. So I have learned a lot how to push the numbers and to make sure your inputs don't over exceed what you can bring in at the end of the year. So just on a day-to-day basis, I've learned a lot just on my own from how to run a budget through my lifestyle. And the other thing, I was 12 years here on the Pierce Fire, and I was training officer there for 4 years, and I managed 26 members. I had to direct monthly training and to keep them up to date, up to code on the correct procedures how to fight fire and escape people out of vehicles. So I feel that's one area that I can lead, and I have had to lead or be a commander at fire scenes myself. So I have learned a lot from them areas. And the last thing also is I'm a current senior canine handler. I've been there for 9 years. And when these sergeant positions came up, I never put in because I felt I wanted to keep doing the canine position because it was a very, took a lot of time, takes a lot of effort. So that's why I never even put my name in for any of these sergeant positions. So that's just a few things that I feel would help us on the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you. The next series of questions will probably have shorter answers because they're much more topic specific. And as we go down the line, Sean will answer next first. What type of crime do you see posing the biggest threat to our county, and how do you propose to address it?
The biggest crime posing a threat to our county, I would say, is burglary and drug use. They both go hand in hand. Anytime that we deal with drug users, anytime we go to a burglary, it seems like they've been involved with some type of drug use. So those are the biggest threats that I think our county faces. So what do we need to do about it? We have to ensure that we are vigilant on our patrols. We can't stop crime. There's just no way we can do that. But we can obviously be vigilant and we can deter crime. So basically, just working together with community members, seeing what their thoughts are, what their opinions are, and working together as a county. I don't think it's just law enforcement's problem with what's going on out there. I think it's the community's problem. I think we all need to be educated on what's going on and what we can do to contribute to the cause and to help, at least deter these crimes. Sharing information and data is a big thing. I think we can work closer with the community. I know the Little Falls Police Department puts a lot of their data online. So viewers nowadays, if they got it right in front of them, they can go on, check their web base and see what's going on around them. So I see that as something we could also implement. Keeping everybody informed. That means our deputies, the community members, everybody needs to be on the same page. Otherwise we're not going to be able to stop or deter crime. And also specialized patrols. We currently do that now. If there's a targeted area where people are getting burglarized, we make sure we put out that information, and we're going to do a little special emphasis on that area because obviously we know what's going on. So those are some of the things I like to do and implement. And the other thing is just increase our training. There's no doubt that we can increase our training, specifically with drug users, because we want to make everybody feel comfortable. In other words, when deputies are interacting with drug users on the street, some guys are very comfortable and some guys are not. And the guys that are comfortable with drug interdiction, it's because they're doing the same thing over and over and they're doing a good job at it. Some guys probably aren't as comfortable because they don't have as much training. So just ongoing annual training with drug interdiction, I think, is a good thing for our entire staff, and that's something I push.
Again, answering that question is very near and dear to my heart, as I've explained to you, and like Sean had said, drugs, I really feel are the number one problem that is going to pose the biggest issue for counties, because coming from it is your thieving and your robbery and your burglaries and your assaults, and most of it is because they need the funding to use the product, and if they're not out there working, and most of them are not able to hold jobs while on and addicted to meth, cocaine, heroin, and even marijuana at points, you're not able to hold the job, so you're going to be out burglarizing, robbing in order to get your high for the day and for the week and for everything you say. And so, with 9 years on the drug task force, which is now the violent offender task force, I truly feel I have the most experience in the biggest problem that's going to pose the biggest issue in the county. And as Sean has said, Sean's been on the task force. Sean's been on it for a couple of years. But again, with 9 years, I feel that I'm the best suited for that. You know what, the biggest thing that I see is we're out there fighting the crimes every day. I really believe we don't share enough information with the public, and Sean touched on that. I feel, and as I've been campaigning, the area and local farmers and the community members that live out in the county, we do not lose them as a big enough asset. You know, we had a case a few years ago. We had a white man that was committing numerous amounts of burglaries and robberies and thefts. And how many times could we have maybe reached out in the community to that area and asked the local farmer, hey, see this white man? We knew the color of the man. Why not ask, get it out to the public and have them for help? They're the ones out seeing, they're out on the county roads, they're checking their farm fields, they're checking their crops. They see these people out driving around, and I just don't believe we get out there enough. And I would say it, I'm at fault. We don't get out enough to the local people and get help, and I really believe that. The other thing I think we can really do is being a part of the Central Minnesota Violent Offender Task Force. We have approximately 20 investigators, special agents. Why not put an emphasis? If we have, just take for an example on area of the county, we can say Swanville, we can say Randall, we can say Buckman, we can say anything. We got some thefts that are specialized to an area. We got 20 officers in undercover vehicles. We saturate the highways for DUIs and alcohol enforcement, and that's very important. But why can't we we saturate? And why won't we saturate an area with 20 undercover cops in cars in patrolling that area of town where we're seeing the thefts and robberies, and get them out there and put them in 10-hour shifts or 15-hour shifts. At times when people are getting burglarized, I don't think they're worried about what the overtime is costing people. And so I think we can really do better by giving the undercover officers more than just the drug work. The drug will be there tomorrow, the drug will be there the next day. But let's saturate an area and put these crimes to an end as fast as possible in certain areas.
All right, I think we all agree the biggest problem that is facing our county, of course, is narcotics. One way that I think we could do a little better, and I think I would definitely do it, is currently we only have one person assigned to the Central Minnesota Task Force. A few years back we did have two, but for some reason they rolled one of them off, so there's currently only one person assigned to that task force. I think we all agree that it's getting out of hand. Like they were saying before, you're never going to stop it, but I think we need to try to slow it down. So that would be one thing I would definitely do, is try to make the schedule work out to get another person assigned, and if not, a couple of years down the road, possibly even add another person or hire a person strictly for the task force. Another thing I feel that we could do a little better on is try to educate our youth. I'm involved in a program actually out in Piers that we do at 2 schools called Healthy Living and Choices, and that's where you go into the schools. It's an 8-week program where law enforcement, community corrections, and public health is involved, and it's just a way to get the officers to know the students a little better and get the children not so scared of cops and different people in the criminal justice system. So that would be one thing. And the last thing that does involve youth also, and I would like to implement satellite offices throughout the county to try to slow down the drug use. That would be in the schools, I should have mentioned, the high schools. That's where the school would give you just a small room, and we could throw a computer in there, and as deputies are on patrol, they could pull into the school, go in during the day, anytime, and sit down, do their reports, and then after they're done, they could get up and walk around, talk to the children, try to get a good working relationship with them, because that way I feel they'll possibly come up to you and say, hey Dan, Fred's selling dope down the road, or John's smoking marijuana. And I think that would definitely assist in trying to slow down the drug use in the county.
Well, thanks for the question. The biggest crime posing with the biggest threat is violent crime. That's actually the biggest threat to the citizens, is violent crime. Second to that is the drug culture and all the miscellaneous, if you want to call them, crimes that go with it, which is thefts, burglaries, the farm thefts of wire off the irrigation systems. Remember too that some crime is economy driven. With that said, the biggest way to solve crimes is outreach. You have to have a commitment from both law enforcement and the public to get the best bang for your buck on crime, which includes the response to calls and the quality of investigations that are conducted when you get to those calls. Intelligence sharing among law enforcement, not specifically just in this county, but across broad spectrum. Why? Criminals don't recognize county lines. They don't stop at the border and say, I'm not going over into Todd County anymore, or I'm not coming over into Morrison County. They do the crimes based on location and based on opportunity. To assist with crime solving, what I would implement within the public is a little broader neighborhood watch program, including more emphasis on Operation ID. Because ultimately, when the crimes do occur, which they will, trying to retrieve the property and get it back through identification is the way to solve the crime. The quality of investigations would be improved if I'm elected sheriff. And what I mean by that is, when we talk about how to propose to address crime solving, physical evidence does apply. Witness statements are typically second to physical evidence, and the public's health typically runs a close second to witness statements. So in other words, if we provide the officers with the skills, knowledge, and education And we ask for assistance from the public and from outside sources when needed. We'd stand a better chance of solving those crimes which are currently take today.
All right, the next question will be answered first by Charlie. And this is one of the Chamber's favorite questions because we deal with a lot of volunteers. In what ways have you contributed to the community outside of law enforcement? Nonprofits, faith community, all that good stuff.
I think it's a very good question, and I truly believe, as you have stated, and I said in some closing remarks, and I'll say it again today, it takes a village to raise a child. And that includes every one of us, and ways of doing that is getting volunteers from everybody to help out. I've been a firefighter with the Little Falls Police Department again since 1996, so almost 18 years. I've been a youth baseball coach and basketball coach for approximately 12 years, and I've been honored and lucky enough to be able to do that with my sons, but also to other members of the community as their team members. I've been the youth baseball secretary for approximately two years at the Youth Baseball Association of Little Falls. I've been just elected president currently for the last year. I have been a Cub Scout den leader in Cub Scouts, and it's been a while since my boys are older now, but I just feel over and over again, as a leader in the community, as a sheriff is, that you need to put forth that volunteer effort, join the organizations and clubs, help the kids grow into young adults, into adults, so that they can be prosperous for this community.
Based my whole life on. Like you said, I've been 21 years on the Pierce First Response Team. I've been 12 years on the Pierce Fire Department. I'm on the Pierce Lions Club. I'm a director on the Harding Lashlip Snow Dusters. I'm a volunteer on the Holy Trinity Pierce School District Safety Board. And I also, it's a lot of things that I've been involved with, and I think you learn a lot from giving back to the community. You know, at 2 or 3 in the morning when your pager goes off, somebody definitely needs your help. It doesn't mean that you need to get a paycheck all the time to do something. I feel you have to give back, and if you can do that, just a smile, a thank you, anything, I feel is way more important than a paycheck. And if I were elected sheriff, I would definitely try to persuade my employees to get involved in their community, wherever they may live. Join a first response team, because all the deputies, everybody's trained in first responders. So it's something that I believe in, and I would definitely try to instill it in my workers.
In what ways have we contributed? When you say community outside of law enforcement, I consider that also to be a pretty broad community. With 49 years of age, assisted with baseball and the Little Six program, volunteered at several sports throughout the high school and elementary school in Royalton, including post my school days. Beyond being a school volunteer, the second thing I probably contributed most to is 8 years as an elected official on the Royalton School Board, 5 years as chair there. What I mean by assisted in the community was a way to develop a school from 550 students to a 900 student enrollment in under 5 years through the implementation of new programs for kids in the education side. Beyond that, I've trained roughly 5,000 public safety personnel, including fire, EMS, public works, and elected officials on incident management in the brand new state of Minnesota $500 million radio system. I was an advocate and assisted Morrison County in obtaining almost $800,000 worth of grant funding to assist in completing the public safety radio system in Morrison County. And currently, still outside of law enforcement, I'm on the Alexandria Technical College's advisory board as an advisor to the curriculum that's provided to not just law enforcement, but curriculum to all public safety statewide.
Basically, my contribution to the community outside of law enforcement, the first thing is I attend church. I got a deep faith. I go to church at Faith Lutheran Church here in Little Falls. I am currently a member of the Youth and Family Ministry team. I feel that's very important. I think it's important that we come up with different programs and things for our youth to do. And that's something I take to heart. The second thing that I donate my time to is the Stand Up For You Youth Coalition. Yes, there's times when I'm working and I attend, but there's other times I'm off duty and I attend at my own time. So being a member of the Stand Up For You Youth Coalition, it's basically a youth alcohol prevention project that currently takes place and covers the Little Falls area. That's the law enforcement sector that I represent there. On the Stand Up For Youth Coalition, we have a county attorney, we have a judge, we have faith-based personnel, school officials, parents, students, and then I represent the law enforcement sector. So I'll go back to this saying that it does take a community to tackle some of the problems that we have in our own area, and that's what we do. We have community members that are represented from all these different sectors where we get together once a month and we talk about the problems, and we talk about what we can do from our own sector to make things better. Thank you.
And we're back to Scoop with the next question. What resources will you use to address the mentally ill population in custody that are charged with criminal offenses? And we had a long discussion in the office about this question.
All right. I guess I would definitely keep what we're using currently right now. It's called the crisis team, crisis line. And say we're called to a possible suicidal subject, person mentally ill, off their meds, Alton County. And it's something, a lot of this stuff is way out of the reach of the deputies that we can handle. It's a great program where the dispatch, as you're en route, they call in to the crisis team, say you're responding to so-and-so's house, and once deputies get there, we can be available to come out. So once we make contact with the individual and decide that it's nothing criminal, it's probably mental, the crisis team, we usually transport them to the St. Gabriel's ER, and we wait there until somebody from the crisis team comes in, sits down with them, and then they can make the final decision. And I believe it's also used up in the jail on certain things. And another asset that I think you could use a little bit more is a chaplain. Chaplain Greg Valentine is trained in all these areas, and I believe he goes up in the jail, but I think we could incorporate him a little bit more into a full-time person there, and I think he could absolutely assist us with the mentally ill.
What will be done to assist the mentally ill population that's currently in custody and charged with criminal offenses? For the in-custody piece of it, I think you can look to St. Gabe's Hospital. I think you can look to the chaplaincy program. And I also believe currently you can look to the rec program in some aspect, as well as other programs that are out there that's approved and or sponsored by, for instance, the St. Cloud Mental Health Association and the St. Cloud Mental Health Unit. Within the jail and the criminal offense piece, to me, the public defender's office and county attorney's office play a significant role. There's a sector of the population that has mental health issues that are charged with crimes that the ultimate question is what they're charged with appropriate, is what they're charged with necessary, and is what they're charged with, per se, common sense. The mental health, as most of you probably realize today, somebody in every family knows somebody that has a mental health issue. And it can be diagnosed from something extremely severe to minor. The trick within custody situations is to know that the person that you're bringing into jail or have brought into jail is being watched or monitored if they, for instance, have a mental issue which would lead to suicidal tendencies. So ultimately, what resources? The ultimate issue at the county level would be to work with the county board to develop a program, in my opinion, a program through social services and through the county to address issues of mental health within the facility of the jail.
As far as resources needed to address the mentally ill position, my notes, I also have social services. This is something they're familiar with. If they can help out in any way, whether it's finding the correct staff to address this issue and or proceeds to go towards the training, that's something we want to look at. We may need to look at outsource training. We deal with mentally ill, it seems like a lot more recently. We used to bring our mentally ill down to the Brainerd State Hospital. They had the personnel there that were trained to deal with these people. Correctional officers at the jail are not always, we don't have the training. So that's something that we'd have to look at. I would talk to our legislators and I would try and push the fact that we're in need of a state hospital again. And so these people that are trained properly can actually interact with the mentally ill and assist us. And just to go on, just to expand on that is training. I think we do need training for our personnel who work at the jail because we're not trained right now to deal with mentally ill personnel.
Well, thank you very much for the question. As I'm sitting there writing notes, and everyone's got the answers. But I really feel there are people that can't be rehabilitated, whether they're mentally ill, whether they're... I'm sorry. There are people I really cannot feel that can be rehabilitated, whether it's mentally ill, whether there's other issues going on in their lives. And that's a personal opinion from the experience that I have. I really feel that they must be locked up and kept incarcerated. We need to build more prisons and more jails, and that's what we should be doing. And as a chief law enforcement officer, and we are, one of us would be in Morrison County, it's our duty to protect the public. And if the people cannot be rehabbed and rehabilitated, then they ought to be incarcerated. And that's a personal opinion from me. That being said, as police officers, it's a profession, we're not doctors. I believe we should be able to reach better with the medical community, and we should rely on them to determine who or should or can be rehabilitated or helped along the process in life. Outside of that, the crisis team, social services are wonderful assets that bring their professional services to law enforcement, and they're better able to determine and deal with the mentally ill.
And we will go to Tom next for this first answer. Are you aware of any programs that other counties are using that you would like to see initiated if you are elected? And if so, how would you pay for those programs?
One of the first programs that I would like to see implemented across Morrison County is what we would call a school resource officer program at every school in the county. How to provide for it is easy initially. It can be done within budget with the resources countywide that are available. In other words, realize that the county sheriff's office has about 16 full-time deputies, and Swanville and Upsler are the only school district in the county which currently do not have an officer that's assigned to it. The ultimate goal there would be that if officers in the local municipalities need more time within the schools to do outreach, that a deputy could easily cover the priority calls for service in that community while that officer, who's known to those kids, gets time to spend in the schools. So as far as having to pay for it, it's already within budget to be able to do it. It's just an issue of reassigning the priority resource time available to the deputies. Above and beyond that, I would dedicate a full-time body back to the community for the same type of relationship building countywide. In other words, education of the young parents, education of the youth, and education of the seniors back into the community for community outreach to improve the communications between law enforcement and the citizens of the county. And that could be done within budget. I'd like to see a youth leadership academy or something similar developed within the county, but I don't specifically see it being done within the sheriff's office. In other words, as a program, I think there's a valuable resources at St. Francis that's untapped right now. The ability to go to St. Francis, use their facilities, and use staff at St. Francis who are willing to assist to develop more young children through senior age children's programs for the mentorship and the positive role modeling that other communities are trying to do individually. I think it could be done a little global, more global. Drug court. Currently, Morrison County implemented drug court. The difference between the drug court I'm used to, 8 years worth of drug court experience, is that some of the parameters for acceptance into drug court in Morrison County are different than they are in Stearns County. I would like to work with the court administration, county attorney's office, public defender's office, and the judges to kind of modify again on long term some of the requirements or prerequisites to get into drug court. The posse. I still believe there's a place in Morrison County for the posse. I talked to Nickel, the current sheriff, about why it went away. It was not necessarily a funding issue, it was more of a supervision and management issue of the posse. And there are places horses can go that four-wheelers can't get, and that are nearly impossible to search in the period of time you need to get it done on foot with a human. I'd like to enhance the Morrison County Crime Stoppers. I would not only enhance it inside of Morrison County, but tie Morrison County Crime Stoppers to the Tri-County Crime Stoppers down in Stearns, Benton, Sherburne, and St. Cloud. The reason for that, again, criminals know no jurisdictional boundaries. And Highway 10 is the corridor that brings the criminals to and from Little Falls and to and from Morrison County. The Central Minnesota Chaplaincy Program, I believe that Greg spends a lot of time and a lot of effort himself with the chaplaincy program. I would like to expand it by having Greg and the Central Minnesota Chaplaincy Program grow or mold into one program. A countywide grant employee. One of the things that I think Morrison County is currently missing is a countywide grant writer. Wouldn't specifically have to be for the sheriff's office, but I believe the county is quite frankly missing a lot of money that can come in grants. The philosophy about grants is debatable, but the true issue is if you're not writing them and if you're not getting them, somebody else is. And there is a lot of grant funding out there, not just for law enforcement, but for the greater public safety abroad that we could be tapping. As far as funding it, good grant writers write a grant for their own wages. The first year you likely would have to fund it through tax dollars, through an allotted position, but shortly after that, a good grant writer can write enough grants and a good enough grant to pay for their own services in writing it. The Violent Offender Task Force that some of the other candidates have mentioned. I hope all of you realize there isn't just one person in Morrison County assigned to the Violent Offender Task Force. There are actually 3 bodies that are a team that work on the north end of the district that the Violent Offender Task Force covers. A Todd County body, a Little Falls cop, and a Morrison County deputy. So there are actually 3 people currently working on the Violent Offender Task Force covering narcotics on this end of the county. With that said, that's where I would go back to devote the outreach body. Instead of putting it on the task force, I would take the full-time body and have it back into the community for outreach specifically directed at the countywide services. And then I believe we should be attending monthly investigator meetings, not just the ones that are occurring in central Minnesota between several counties and cities and St. Cloud, but the ones that occur up in Crow Wing County and Brainerd, where they conduct a monthly criminal investigators meeting, because again, criminals don't know jurisdictional lines.
First thing I want to say is knocking on the doors, a lot of people say, you know what, the sheriff's office seems to run pretty smooth. Some people say, yeah, it needs to be tweaked here and there, but it's no different when you pull a vehicle over. If the signal light's not working, You fix the signal light. You don't overhaul the entire vehicle. So I think I want to make some positive changes to the sheriff's office, but I'm not here to change everything, because when you got a good thing going, you keep it going. Some things that I'd like to do is designate a deputy to our rural schools. Right now, as Mr. Justin said earlier, we have no deputy presence there unless there's usually a complaint. So I'd like to erase that image and get somebody in there. How do we do that? I'm committed to putting a deputy in there if I'm fortunate enough to get sheriff, 1 day a week, 1 hour a week. That way we can educate our youth, school officials, we can educate them on drug education awareness. You know, we're in a rural area, we can educate them on snowmobile and ATV safety. Excuse me. And just basically meet with the school officials and see what they want from us for a curriculum. We're there to assist them, not to step on their feet. The other thing is, when we're present there at the schools, and if there's no curriculum for that week, we're there to help out in any capacity. That means just interacting with the kids, showing them that we're human beings, and being there for them, basically mentoring them. And I think that's very important. We have too many kids nowadays that are scared of law enforcement. So I think we just need to be present and interact with them and let them know that we're human beings. The second thing is community forums. I think it's important. As mentioned before, not only do we have to keep all our law enforcement personnel updated as what's going on in the community, but we have to keep all our folks, all our residents of Morrison County updated. So there's no real cost educating the community if we're just going to go forth and share our resources and let people know what's going on in the community. And the next thing I got down is drug interdiction training. I believe that's important. That's one of the things that I would change immediately. I would just make sure that we have ongoing annual training for our deputies. I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable when they're making a traffic stop, when we're dealing with these drug users. So we're getting more drugs out of vehicles and off the streets. We have to make sure that people feel comfortable doing this, and by implementing our ongoing training, people will feel comfortable. Thank you.
That's a very good question, and being the last one to answer, I believe I am. I just want to say, first off, I really believe, and we are very lucky here, Mickle, and not just Mickle, Rick, my boss at the Little Falls Police Department, and all the chiefs have done a wonderful job in our community in keeping up our programs and keeping up our technology so that we don't fall behind other counties. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. They've done a super job, and it's wonderful that we don't have to go into the sheriff position and have a huge hole that we have to fill, or a gap that we have to cover, or a budget that we have to fix. And so it's very nice for us to step into that. But again, with drugs being my passion, we need to reach the young adults before they fall prey to the addiction. You know, it's a candidate, and we can all talk about what you should be resource officer in every school. And it's costly. I think we can have that officer out fighting the drug war every day. But what I say is, why not get back to some old-fashioned policing? Let's get a deputy in a 10-hour shift, walking through the schools, getting to know a student, going to Swanville, going to Randall, going to Little Falls, going to Lincoln, Lindbergh. To spend an hour, and I know Sean has talked about that, but to spend an hour in a school on every shift of a 10-hour shift that we work was not costly. It's already in the budget for working well. They're not a 10-hour shift, and I just believe it's a good idea. That's also providing a little mentorship. Let's face it, we go out and we roll up the calls. Kids are generally scared of cops. We need to change that. It's no different than a firefighter. When we go into a fire, and kids are hiding away and trying to get away. Obviously, they're scared of the fire, but they come in with a firefighter coming in with a big scary suit and a mask and breathing like they're Darth Vader. Okay? The police are looked at that in the same way, because on TV shows, we're taking the kids away from their mom and dad, and we're taking the parents away from them. And so giving a little bit of time back into the schools, walking through, getting to know the kids. Like I say, old-fashioned wisdom, I'm not that old, 46 years old, but there was a time when we did that. And we need to get back to doing that, getting to learn who the kids of our community are. And one thing I have to say, and people may disagree with me, and I know a lot of people have worked hard to have this program implemented, but I am against the program. I would say that with the money and there's been grants, and I understand all that, and the people that have worked hard for it, I don't say nothing bad about that. But we have laws on the books that the state legislature has put on for drug crimes. We don't need another whole set of criminal statutes for more people to go through. I've seen it in counties that does not work. And we've had issues where you're only supposed to send users into the drug court. Well, it gets so easy on everybody. They start selling, start giving sellers a chance to go through it, violent offenders a chance to go through it. It's not meant to be that. And so I'm going to stand up here today and say that I'm against it. We have laws on the books. We don't need more laws. And I think if everyone does their job all the way through the criminal justice system, we won't need it. It's been shown already in the short time that it's implemented. We have a couple that have already slipped through the cracks and are all running through on warrants already, waiting because they slipped through the drug court already. So I just see it in my experience. It's failed in other counties, and I'm going to stand up against it. So that's a little bit where I stand with Big Red.
All right. There's a couple programs that I am currently involved with out in the Pierce School District. Like I said before, I feel we need to get, like everybody says, we need to get officers in the schools. And what they've been using out in Pierce is what they call a satellite office. And that's just, like I said, a small room at the school. You can bring in a computer, and deputies can come as they go. You give it, the school gives the deputies a key to come and go because they're all locked now during the day. So you can come and go anytime during the day. Go in and do your reports. Go in and meet with the children, walk around, sit down and have lunch with them. And like they said, let the kids know that cops are humans too and not to be scared of us all the time. And that would cost the county nothing, because it would be a deputy that's on duty at the time, and you would not have to assign a special person to go around and do that. So that's one program. Second program, like I said before, is the Healthy Living and Choices, and that's where you also get involved with the youth. That's where you go into the schools for that 8-week program, meet with them, and try to teach them to make healthy living and choices, just like it says. It's just another way for deputies to sit down, meet with the children, and let them know that we are human. And the last thing I would like to kind of start up here that I don't think has ever been done is a youth officer program. And that's where people, children, I should say kids, I guess, older in high school, involved. If they're going to go into law enforcement, they could be part of the sheriff's department, not actually paid, but it could be a volunteer. They could ride along, and we could teach them different things involved in the job. And they could give them a shirt. They could come and walk with us, like at the festival, Swandale Carnival, and just let them see what it's all about. And the ones that are very seriously that want to do it, I think we could do that, and that'd be a good thing for the sheriff's department, and would work out.
The answers are getting so long, I feel I should repeat the question halfway through. Now we're going to go to Sean to answer this one first. Please provide your position on conceal and carry permits.
My position on conceal and carry permits is number one, I support the Second Amendment. Currently, a firearm firearms instructor at the Sheriff's Office. I also teach the conceal and carry permit class through shooting sports, and I've also teach through Tom Rothlander as well. So I want to be doing the instruction, and I want to be teaching it if I didn't believe in it. I'm also a firearms instructor at Central Lakes College, so I got a good background with firearms, and again, I support the Second Amendment. My stand is that I believe all law-abiding citizens should be accepted for the conceal and carry permits. And obviously there's screening that goes on at our sheriff's office before we issue these out. So if there's no red flags, I'm for giving out the conceal and carry permits. The other issue is, I talked about having law-abiding citizens carry weapons. If my family was ever at risk, I would hope that someone that has a permit to carry would obviously stand up for that. And that's why I encourage law-abiding citizens to go through this training to carry. What I don't want to happen is I don't want weapons taken away from good people, from law-abiding citizens. Because the only people that benefit then are the violent criminals. Thank you.
This is a very good question, and it was answered in the Morrison County record, if anyone was able to read it here just last. And I believe all four of us candidates are supporters of the Second Amendment and the right to carry weapons or conceal. Again, I'm a strong believer of the Constitution of the United States, and in the Second Amendment, we have a right, as our forefathers have done, to bear arms. It was intended by our forefathers, if we look back to history, not being a history buff, but to protect us against governments taking over the citizen. I don't know if they really believed their forefathers would see the amount of crime that has hit communities today. And therefore, I think even more now than ever, we must be in a position to have our citizens conceal and carry weapons when they're trained and qualified to do so. And like Sean had just said, there are times where there is a break-in. We had an officer shot in Alexandria not too long ago, and the subject shot him and he had a bulletproof vest, and he went up to a house, and it's an elderly couple over by Alexandria, and the guy tried to break in the door, and the guy opens up or cracks it or shows it through the window. He's got a big shotgun in his hand. That guy took off running, and he ended up tragically committing suicide. But there were two more people that may have ended their life before the crime spree ended. So I really believe in not only citizens being protected, but law enforcement as well. We're all on the side of the street. God bless the officer from Mendota Heights that was just shot and killed. And there are going to be a time, and we've had it in our history in our own county, where we've had officers shot, where the citizens come to the protection of us instead of us protecting them. And they're going to be doing it with throwing rocks at it. And so I firmly believe in the Second Amendment.
Yes, I too definitely believe in the Second Amendment. I feel that everyone that should carry, I feel everyone should carry if they can. I believe that if these bad guys, criminals, realize that everybody that was actually good that was carrying, half of these crimes won't be committed because they knew if they pull out a gun in public, they could get shot. So I definitely agree with conceal and carry, and I'm for it.
I'll make it fairly easy. It's legal. It's a background done. The legal permit is applied for. And it should be approved. The thing you must remember is everybody calls it concealed and carry, and the law doesn't say it has to be concealed. It is simply a carry law. And as far as gun amendment, I guess I could show you by my tie tack, this is a shotgun tie tack that I wore today. If that helps in your belief of whether or not I support the Second Amendment. Thanks.
And we'll go to Charlie first. Technology is constantly changing and advancing. What technological advances would you like to introduce to the Morrison County Sheriff's Office? And what role do you see social media playing in today's Sheriff's Department?
All right, that's a great question. I'll let all the victors get picked up here in the Gus, but like I said before earlier in the earlier questions, Mickle and my chief, and again the local chiefs, have brought up, and I'll give kudos to my chief mainly. He has made us, or given us, as officers, probably the most up-to-date information sharing system in the state of Minnesota. Now, being a 46-year-old guy, I sometimes wonder how the heck he use the dang thing, but it is top-notch for informational sharing between officers that we have ever had here. And so as far as what technology I'd like to bring, I really feel that we are at the cusp, and we are at that level that we need to be as a county in being up with technology. Now, as far as social media, as we all know it, we all use it here as candidates. We all have our Facebook pages with the Morrison County Sheriff candidate, each one of us. And again, as being an older guy, it's not as easy to use and follow and keep up with it, but the criminals are using it. I see it in the task force that I work for. They're sharing information. They're sharing when they're buying. They're not using cell phones as much. They are using cell phones a lot, but they're also using Facebook, and they're telling them where they're buying it. They're telling how much they're getting. They don't hide it. And we as law enforcement have got to find a way, and I know our police department has a system where some of the guys sit down weekly or daily to meet and keep updated with Facebook and the other social media outlets, Twitter, to see if we can intercept that information without, of course, intercepting the privacy rights of individuals. But we do at the drug task force. We have someone assigned to work the Facebook cases, and we've had investigations that come out of them. So we need to keep up with that, and as a sheriff I will see that it's maintained, that we have a page that